BBC got very early into online and started finding ways of building interactivity into what we do for pupils and for teachers. But I think something we've started to twig just in the last 2 or 3 years is that it's not just that the distribution channel for educational content has changed. It's actually that the wiring of our audience's brains is starting to change. The generation we're now talking to in schools, whether they're rural or urban, is a generation of digital natives. I see that with my own daughter. I've got a daughter who turned 3 on Saturday. She doesn't watch television. She watches a lot of video, and she watches it on the iPad that I supposedly bought for myself and I now can't get out of her hands. And she loves it, because compared with the television, it delivers everything to her there and then. She goes to the TV, she thinks it's broken because she can't touch it and move things around. She thinks it's broken because it's got a schedule, and the program that's on is the program that's on, not the one that she chooses. And I think if you look at children in societies where there is this huge amount of online activity, they are now completely digital. And I think that's having an interesting impact in rural communities, because with the ability of social networks to start connecting people up, the fact that someone is geographically isolated starts to become less and less important.
I would be giving an example that we are doing in BREC. For the high school level, what we did, we put the entire textbook in an animated textbook form. The whole objective is that it can be put in a DVD format, and when needed, the teacher can use it in the classroom as a supplementary tool. When the classes are over, if the students want, it can be a self-learning tool. So this way, what we could do, achieving 2 objectives. One, introducing the technology, because itself is really very engaging. It creates a kind of very positive attitude among the children, and there is an attraction in the whole technology. The second, if you design this whole software in an interactive way, so that not necessarily they need a large classroom, the 2 or 3 children can sit down, they can play while they are answering the certain questions on a lesson. It can be also a bit of relaxing. So the tension that one experiences in the classroom can be relieved by developing those softwares.
Now, when it comes to developing countries, we have to remind ourselves that there is a public responsibility. And there is, of course, you can, make your accounting and decide that in the end, it's not worth, investing in those remote areas. Well, that's the responsibility of the government. But we have to remind ourselves that the more we invest in those who have less, the better the country will be benefiting from that. So I think that it was said yesterday, the more we invest at the bottom, the best for the whole system. So I think that this is something that we have. So just let me insist on this plea for the appropriate policy environment and remind ourselves that public policies have to be designed to deal with those particular remote areas.
I'd also like your opinion with regard to areas that are very far-flung, hilly, mountainous, where we can't consider mobile phones because of signal issues there. In our case, we have gone into such areas, and then we finally did resort to using simple television, DVDs, providing them, with material that way.
If I think of the armory of content that I've got available as a broadcaster, whether something like DTH satellite could work in that environment, because you've got quite a cheap domestic way of receiving pictures over satellite. It reaches anywhere. It would take some investment in the content, but you could be getting certainly video content into anywhere in Pakistan if you put a bit more resource into it. There's rudimentary interactivity that you can build in as well. So that I think one of the lessons with emerging media is that not every innovation wipes out everything that's gone before. You want to still have old-fashioned radio up your sleeve. You want TV up your sleeve. You want connected red button. You want internet. You don't want to throw away all the old stuff, because there's a place for all of it.
One of the questions that I received here through the Twitter was actually around girls going to school and parents being reluctant, particularly in rural areas, to send their girls to school, and what kind of strategies could we employ to encourage parents to send their girls to school?
Educating the mothers, educating the families, emphasizing and empowering them with regard to the importance of education in their lives. That was one strategy which we adopted. The second strategy that we have tried to adopt, I must say we've not been very successful. One of the reasons in the rural areas why parents don't want to send the girls to the school, because the girl is usually contributing to the household work, either in the household work or in the farm, or at the farm as a farm hand. So therefore, linking those families with the other income generation programs, where the family doesn't mind the girl going out of the home and going to the school, because they're seeing, so we have to work as a community organization actually pretty hard to ensure that every single girl goes there. So these are two things that we...
At least, if the kind of school provision that we offer to girls in particular has some kind of possibility of getting earnings, or at least oriented towards a possible, a possibility of earning, then families tend to look at that formal provision of education in a different way.
Now, one thing that I'm missing in the panel is the government's voice in terms of the challenges within ministries of education to deliver education in remote areas as the ultimate duty bearers in the education equation and as their full responsibility. Now, I wonder to what extent can your initiatives also make sure that in replication and in the scaling up actually involve governments so as to for them to actually be the ultimate deliverers of your really successful interventions?